Hello! So I thought I might film this podcast vlog style because I have so much to show you guys since I last saw you that I won't be able to film it all in one go. So I hope you like this new format. It will probably only be when I need to catch you up on a lot of stuff, but I figured it's probably the best way to fit it all in and do it justice so that you can enjoy it as much as I do filming it. So I'm just gathering together all my little bits and pieces because all of my finished objects are scattered all over the house at the moment. And I have a few whips that I have stashed away as well. And I'm currently in my reclaimed sewing room / home office. So first, let me say welcome back to the Obsessive Maker podcast. My name is Sian and I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, and it has been many months since I last caught you up on what I'm working on. So let's get to it. Now you'll have to forgive the chaos that is my sewing space. Ta-da! But I'm currently sewing some jeans for my husband, and I really wish I'd got a chance to work on these today, but let me just say I'm halfway through, so I'm very pleased with that. And I'm also making a pair of jeans for myself, so I'm batch sewing. But I won't update you on that too much more than what I've already said, because there's not a lot to say at this point. So let's grab my knitting, and I'm going to take you into my bedroom. I am filming from my bed because it's a Sunday afternoon. I just got back from my social knitting group with a lovely bunch of ladies, and so what I really want to do, other than share this with you, is to sit in bed. So different location today. I'm cozy, still half in outdoor clothes, half in tracky dacks. So I hope you don't mind. I'm sure you don't. But I've gathered together all of my bits and pieces of, not everything, but some of my bits and pieces of what I've been working on for the last few months. As I said in my previous episode, I seem to have cast on all the things just to kind of cope with like stress and, you know, deal with life the last few months, but it has resulted in a lot of finished objects and quite a few whips. And if you've been following along with me for a while, you know I like to have a variety of whips on hand so that I can pick and choose what I work on. You know, variety is the spice of life. So I thought I'd actually start off with a couple of the accessories that I finished. Last time you saw this project, I think it was about half done, but I have finished the Sailor Beanie by Sari Nordlund, and I knitted up in this gorgeous mohair fingering combination. Now the fingering yarn is the Lava Flow colorway by Maximoo yarns, and I'm just bringing up Ravelry to double check what the other yarn was. Oh, it was the Glow Up Silk Mohair by Lovely Little Yarns, and both yarn dyers are Australia based. And I just love the color it's given. It's a really kind of neon coral and it really suits me. Well, I think this is really my color. This is one of my neutrals. I've been saying to my knitting friends that I would love to be able to be one of those people that wears chic neutral colors. But I think like the peachy, dusty pinks and things just really do not suit me. So I'm just gonna take neons and bright colors as my neutrals. So I really love the construction of this beanie. It was knit top down, so if you've bought the pattern, that's great, you know what I'm talking about. Usually with beanies, the only ones I've ever knit are bottom up, so brim up, but this was top down and interesting and a little bit confusing for me just at the very beginning, but as you start to increase stitches you can kind of see where it's going, and I really love that you're only increasing on either side. and it creates this interesting 2x2 rib crown, I guess, a pointed crown. I do love a pointed crown. And this is supposed to be a triple fold brim, but it doesn't get that cold here in Australia, so I figured just, you know, a double fabric or single fold would be enough for here. So I only knit this to be 33 centimeters in length from the crown to the brim to the edge. And yeah, it was a really good commute project. So I'm really happy with that. I've worn it quite a few times already, and these days I tend to keep my beanies and my like Sophie scarf and cowls near the front door so I can grab them on the way out, because otherwise I forget to take them with me. So yes, really, really happy with that. I have no complaints about this hat. I would definitely make it again. And I have discovered a love for 2x2 rib. I love the texture, the kind of like fluffy, bouncy texture of the rib, and it gives a bit more of a relaxed feel, a less rigid feel than a 1x1 rib, if you know what I mean. Yeah, or maybe it's just a novelty to me, but yeah, I love that. So my next object is a cowl, and like every other person and every other knitter in the world, I jumped on the bandwagon of the Saturday Shrug. And I thought it was a really good project to test out all of my Nutiden Lucky Charms. So as you probably are aware, I've splurged on a lot of Nutiden yarn over the last year or so, and with that I bought a couple of Lucky Charm bags, which are just colour changes, small amounts of colour changes and things like that. If I have a photo, I'll put a photo here of my Lucky Charms just to show you what that looks like. But I thought this project would be a really good opportunity to test out those colours and to do some a fade, and so I knitted up the Saturday Shrug with my Nutiden Lucky Charms, and I am just completely in love with some of these colorways. I can't name them for you, but I do have a couple of these in my stash. A couple of them I did actually, well, one of them I did sell on because I realized it wasn't really my color in my kind of like color palette. But here we go, let me give you a close-up. So I started off with just the natural color here, and then there was a dark navy blue, and then this green, I think this was called Botanisca or Botanisca. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's a gorgeous mix of greens, yellow, blue, red, pink, mainly a green, and I just adore it. And then it moves into this kind of slate, bluey, purpley grey, and then into a lovely turquoisey blue, and then back into white, and then we move on to the pinks. And I'm pretty sure the pink was, I've forgotten what it's called. This one here in the middle is Shushbeneya, which I bought one cake of years ago, well, in my very first purchase. And this raspberry-like colour, I do actually have a sweater quantity of that. And we're moving down here into the purple, which is Lola, and I have actually knit up a project in that colourway. So, as you can see, it's a beautiful example, almost like a swatch of all of the Nutiden colourways in my Lucky Charms. And when I put it on, I deliberately actually cast on more stitches than recommended in the pattern. For this, I cast on 150 stitches with Norwegian longtail cast on, or the stretchy German, or whatever it's called. And I can't remember how wide I knitted it, but even though I cast on 150 stitches for this, I wanted it to go over my shoulders, but it doesn't quite stretch that far. However, when worn, it is a beautiful versatile cowl. So I can actually wear it as a hood as well. So I can hook it up over my head and tuck it in. So if it gets really windy, I can do that. But for the most part, I do just tend to wear it as like a loose cowl. And I took some photos when I first finished it, and I'll insert them here as well for you. So yes, that's my second finished object. Not much else to say about that, but I do quite like it. It's very squishy, very cozy, and very rustic. So if you're not a fan of rustic yarn, then that might not be the yarn for you. But in saying that, I'll move on to the other Nutiden project that I started and finished since you last saw me. I really wanted to knit something cozy and on large needles. So I've been going back and forth and trying to figure out what pattern I wanted to make, and a few knitting friends had suggested the Felix cardigan. So I thought, what the hell, let's give it a go. And I was super excited. I started it. I actually had the flu when I started it, and I had convinced myself that I was going to start and finish this within a week because everyone said how quick it was to knit. I'll just say it took me a month to finish it. I think I just lost interest after a while, but I pretty much got the bulk of it done in 2 weeks. It was just finishing it off that was challenging. I just got tired of knitting on it. So it is the Felix cardigan, and I knit it up in Nutiden Lola and some Filcolana Tilia that I had in my stash. It's in the pale purple colorway, which is Fresia is the color. When I started knitting it, I was like, it doesn't really go together, the purple, the Lola Nutiden and the Fresia, but I'd already started it and I wasn't going to rip it out. So I persevered, and I will say I am not 100% happy with the pattern. Nothing wrong with the pattern, the way it's written or anything. I just think it's not the style for me. I didn't swatch, and perhaps I should have, because it actually, even though it's an oversized pattern, it ended up very oversized, and it's completely stretched out at the neck. I mean, it was a wide neck anyway, and I think that's part of the construction, but it's not a style of neck that I enjoy. But it is the softest, coziest, warmest fabric I've ever worn, and for that reason I'm happy with it, because it's what I put on when I get into my pajamas here. So on a cold winter's night, the last thing I want to do actually these days is wear a hoodie, which is the way I keep warm at home usually, and this has replaced my hoodie. So I'm very happy with it in that sense, but I wouldn't knit the pattern again. So it's a very boxy, oversized fit. The arms, the underarms are very like bat wing. So that's kind of what I didn't like about the pattern. I'm trying to articulate articulate for you the reasons why, but that's really it. It's just too boxy and oversized, and I didn't like the way it fits. So, but I'm not going to rip it out. I'm just going to continue wearing it as my my nighttime jumper. I did actually use some lovely vintage buttons on this. Don't know if you can, here we go. There we go, some vintage glass buttons, which are I guess they're kind of, they are black, but they're almost like a sunflower shape. And they just go really well with it. I think they definitely elevate it. Yeah, it's okay. It's a little frumpy, but it's cozy, and that's what matters. So in terms of how much yarn I used to construct it, I used a little over 300 grams of Nutiden Lola. colorway, and I used 3.5 balls of Filcolana Tilia. So all in all, this ginormous cardigan weighs just over 300 grams. I think 350, 375 grams. There we go. And it's huge, it's fluffy, it's cozy. It's definitely inspired me to knit more with the Nutiden. So I definitely want to do some more projects with it, but I would definitely not knit this pattern again. Just my personal preference. Okay, so moving on from that, where do we put everything? Do I have any other comments? Oh yes, I do have other comments for the Felix cardigan. Now, my friend Kath, who is the Mindful Melbourne maker, she constructed in her Ravelry notes, she had a really some really good construction notes for the sleeves, and I followed her instructions. And that was to kind of bring the cuffs down to actual wrist size so that they weren't really gapey. And I really, really liked that. And yes, that's pretty much all I have to add to that. So I know the Felix cardigan is a popular pattern amongst knitters, and guys, you can have it. It's all yours. I think I just prefer a different fit, but you know, is it the first cardigan I've ever knitted? I think it is the first cardigan I've ever knitted. So I'm not averse to knitting and purling a lot now. The idea of that used to put me off, but I just think this type of construction is not for me. Yeah, so we will see. I did have on my queue the Moreland cardigan, which I believe will look similar, but it does have a steeked front, so you're knitting it in the round. But for now, I've put that on the back burner because I think the neck will just end up way too big, a bit similar to this. So we'll see. I'll come back to it, but I'm kind of veering away from the chunkier knits now because the winter this year has been really mild. So I'm leaning now more towards lightweight knits because they're more wearable. Something like this I can wear at home. It's absolutely fine. It's beautiful and cozy, but I want to wear more knits out and about. I want some things that are a little bit more feminine, a little bit more chic, I guess. I'm just kind of like not really changing my style, but I'm branching out a little bit and trying new things. So I'm going to leave the chunky knits aside for now, and you'll see what I'm working on now and what I finish in the future. So you'll see there's a slight change from my original plans. I'm going to take a breath. So what else? What else can I show you? I'm just working through my my finished objects in Ravelry. I did actually, if you remember, I was knitting on a cotton merino ranunculus in a green Holst Coast yarn, and I'd put it on the back burner, and I have actually finished it. I'm not going to hold it up for you here because it's actually hanging in my closet, and to get up and get it for you, I'm going to have to rearrange my whole camera setup. So I'll put in some B-roll to show you the finished object. And as much as I didn't enjoy knitting it, I am actually happy now with the finished product. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it. I was in two minds, and I really just wasn't feeling it when I finished it because I had to really force myself to. But all in all, I do quite enjoy it. I knitted it up with the Holst Coast because I was testing out the yarn. When I ordered from Holst last year, I bought a few different types of their yarn just to try out. And so I bought 4 balls of their 50-gram Coast. And I thought, well, I could knit a Ranunculus Tee. I love the Ranunculus pattern. I'll knit it again and again, I'm sure. And so I just thought I'd go with that. And Sylvia in my knit group as well, back into November, December, she was knitting one as well. So I jumped on that bandwagon and I thoroughly enjoyed knitting the yoke. But the thing is with this, I actually sized down in needles. So I held 2 strands of Coast together. I knit it on 5mm needles, but I used 4mm for the neckband. And I actually cast on 90 stitches at the neck, and then just switched to 5mm needles without doing the increases on round 8. I actually have extensive notes over on Ravelry, so if you're interested in that, go and have a look. But halfway through knitting it, I switched from using the original Ranunculus pattern to actually using some of the instructions from the updated pattern, which has multiple sizes. So my notes may be a little bit confusing, but yeah, there's so many different versions of the Ranunculus on the internet and on people's podcasts that I'm sure you can find better instructions than mine. But anyway, yes, I am happy with the finished product now. I wouldn't use the yarn again. I think I'm just not a fan of cotton-based yarns. But you never know, I may change my mind in the future. I'm being lured into enjoying some of the summer knits that the knitters in the Northern Hemisphere are knitting on at the moment, and I put a few in my favourites on Ravelry. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not too bad. I'm glad I finished it. I have worn it a few times and I've got compliments on it, so it's growing on me. So yes, what next? I can see my battery's going to die. So I will just quickly show you one last thing before we leave it for today, because I still do have loads to show you. So as I said, it was kind of going to be a knitting vlog for the week. So let's finish today's off with my latest finished object, which is one where I have been using up some leftover yarn. These 2 mohairs I actually used on my Illuminate sweater, and it's a beautiful, I really absolutely adore this mohair. It's called Boro Blue, Boro as in the Japanese art of like mending and stitching. And I bought it from Wishbone yarn last year or the year before, and I held these together with a DK weight merino from this cone that I got from Wild Earth Yarns. I bought a kilo, so this is a 1 kilo cone, a while ago. I have used this so many times already. It's a really lovely yarn. Yeah, it's a really lovely base. Anyway, so I knitted that up into a neck warmer, because I had been wanting to knit a neck warmer with this combination of yarns for ages. I first started out with the Anne Wenzel Cozy Cowl, but I just couldn't get my head around the stitch pattern for some reason, so I ended up frogging. And then I hunted online for a neck warmer in the style that I wanted, and I was really digging 2x2 rib. I also wanted to play with broken rib. I'd forgotten what it was called. I also wanted to play with broken rib as well, and then I found a pattern called the Ballade Neck Warmer, and that pattern is by Pearl a Sweater Designs, and her name's Monique Chan, and it's a really lovely pattern. She does say in it that obviously you can knit it to the length you like and play around with it. So I knitted to pattern until I got to about there, and then I decided to do decreases similar to the terrazzo neck. Sorry, this isn't blocked. I haven't blocked this yet, but I have worn it a few times. I did decreases similar to the terrazzo necks neck pattern by Petite Knit, and then instead of doing broken rib across the hem as in the Ballade pattern, I just decided to do a 2x2 rib because I wanted to kind of mirror that from the neck. And as I said, I'm obsessed with 2x2 rib right now, and this is a really lovely, warm, cozy neck. Let's see, can I show you properly? And I just love the effect of the mohair with the undyed DK. And it's so nice and cozy. And it's the perfect layer to put on under jackets at the moment because, as I said, it's not that cold. So it's a really good commuting type of accessory that I can put on over, say, a lighter weight work top. And take off when I get to the office because the office is always so overheated. So I love this. I'm so in love with it. I would really like to knit another one. I did start the Amy Slipover by Sanna's Gun, as you're probably aware of, but I put that again on the back burner because I just don't think I made the right choice with yarn. So what I might do is frog that, save the yarn for another project, and I think I might knit up the Amy Slipover in some Nutiden. I really do want to knit the Amy Slipover, but it's just on small needles. I really like the gauge of this because it was on, I think, 5mm needles. So I might just do a Franken pattern, a Franken hack of this and the Amy Slipover and kind of make up my own. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I definitely do want more of these in my life because they're just so easy to wear. And I have tons of Nutiden. So yes, yay. So I think that's all I'll show you for now. I've got to charge up this camera and I'm losing the light. I've got all the lights on in this room, including my lamp, the TV and the overhead lights and the curtains open, but the sun is slowly setting. It's a rainy, miserable day and I want to go knit on a new project right now, and I still have lots to show you, but I can show you tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll show you throughout the week. As I said, I have lots to share, so have a wonderful Sunday. Hi. Please excuse my evening attire. I have just got out of the bath and I'm in my daggiest clothes. I've got an old t-shirt on from a hen do for my sister-in-law. And I've actually got my Felix cardigan on. As I said, it's very frumpy, but it's nice and cozy. So I'm actually just downstairs in the living room on the sofa, just catching up on some Netflix and doing some knitting and crochet. So I thought I'd show you what I'm working on. And I don't know really where to look because I'm using my phone. So in order to see myself and to see what I'm holding up in frame, I need to look at the screen rather than looking over at the camera. So I may go back and forth between. I usually keep 2 projects down here just for variety. And at the moment I'm working on my granny stripe blanket, crochet wise, of course. And let me just bring that up and drape it over my shoulder so you can see it. This is how far I've got. There we go. I started here and I've just been using up lots of different scraps and leftovers, using everything from like little bits of string to I don't know, like mini skeins sized leftovers to full balls, 50-gram balls of yarn. So for example, this one is left over from my Magnolia Bloom sweater. And yeah, I think it's coming along quite nicely. It might take me a few years to finish, but yeah, I think it's going to be very nice in the end. I didn't know initially how many stitches to cast on, so I think I cast on far too many, and this is going to be big enough to fit on a double or queen size bed, so I may have bitten off more than I can chew. But hey, isn't that all part of the process of learning? So it's yeah, it's coming along nicely. I'm quite enjoying the rhythm of it. I haven't got to the point yet where I'm able to look away from my work, but you know, maybe by the end of this I will be able to do that. So yes, that's what I'm working on there. And I'm also working on the Whitmoor sweater. Yeah, I think it's really lovely. So I mentioned yesterday that I really wanted to work on some more lightweight, sorry, just juggling my camera, lightweight kind of feminine things. And I thought this lace yoked pattern might be ideal. I had in my stash some Knit Picks palette. It's been in my stash since really I first started knitting seriously, and I've had several projects in mind for it, but I've never actually cast on it until now. And I'm holding it together with some Lang lace mohair, silk mohair, that I actually bought as a second sweater quantity when I was test knitting the souffle sweater for Laura of Penrose Knits. And it's actually coming out quite beautifully. The Whitmoor sweater, not the souffle sweater. I don't know if you can see it properly. Yeah, it's all a little bit bobbly at the moment because it's at that stage where you can kind of start to see, well, you can start to see the pattern, but you don't get the full effect of the yoke until it's actually on and the drape of the fabric accentuates all of the lace work. So I'm really enjoying it. The chart is addictive. I find I want to just keep moving from row to row, so that's good, but I'm only on the first chart so far. One change I have made with it is I noticed that the pattern didn't have any short row shaping for the back neck, and I'm someone that does actually need that. So I added some in myself, and for kind of the instructions, I used the short row shaping from the Illuminate sweater because it has a similar gauge and same needle size. So I just used those and it actually turned out quite well. I'll see if I can show you properly. Here we go. This is the back, and I think you can see there, I actually did short row shaping just in knit stitches in stockinette rather than trying to build it into the ribbing or into the lace work. So once it's on, you won't actually even see that. So that's the back, and just juggling around. And this is the front. My goodness, I really do have to get my tripod. There we go. And that's the front. So yes, I think it'll work very well. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. That's all I'll show you for today because I need to go and watch some trashy TV to turn my brain off after a long day sat in front of a computer. I'm just going to spend an hour or so in front of another screen. So have a wonderful evening and I'll see you again tomorrow. Who knows? I'm off to work. It's pretty cold this morning, so I've got my neck warmer on and I'm keeping an eye out for the local cats so I can pat them on the way to the bus stop. I love all these autumn leaves, even though it's past midwinter. We've had a really mild winter so far. The mornings have been pretty cold, but the days have been around 15 degrees, so not too shabby, but still not cold enough to wear all of my favourite winter clothes. Hello, happy Wednesday. I have a couple of minutes spare. I spent most of the early morning cleaning the house because we have our rental inspection tomorrow, and then I start work very, very soon. So I just thought I'd quickly pop on here and show you my finished my classic by Espace Tricot. I was about to say Cozy Classic Raglan, but it's not. It's the Classic by Espace Tricot. Now, I've been knitting on this thing since December last year, and it took me forever. I think I may have chosen a size too big because this thing is huge. It is so oversized that the underarm, my actual underarm, is here, and this is how much excess ease there is. Also, it's just very big. So I had a few notes on it, and if I was to knit it again, which I'm not sure I would, maybe I would. It's a good classic shape. I think I just went wrong in too many places, and there's too many adjustments I would like to make in retrospect. So I knit the size 6, and I based my choice off the schematic on the pattern. And given it was so long ago and I haven't actually looked at the schematic recently, it could be my poor choice, or it could be that the schematic gave measurements that were the body measurements, not the finished garment measurements, because I actually swatched this and I got gauge. So knitting size 6, I ended up with far too much positive ease, and I know it's meant to be an oversized garment, but you know, you live and learn. But the key things that I would definitely change on this would be to re-knit the neckband on smaller needles. So I would knit these on 3.75 millimeter needles because this is just, it's way too big. And because of the oversized nature of the garment, it actually stretches out and it keeps ending up like this, which I do not like. And it's just a big saggy top if it doesn't have any structure at the neck. So that's what I would redo. I would also do the same thing for the sleeve cuffs. The pattern actually says just to knit straight sleeves, but I actually did some stitch reduction just before starting the ribbing, and I would actually make these more fitted so that they were like fitted like that, because at the moment, again, they're very oversized. So I've got balloon sleeves with very oversized cuffs. So all in all, it's far too oversized. It's a lovely fabric though. So I knit it too short as well because I got far too impatient to actually continue with it. I'd been knitting on it for almost 6 months. So I did knit it as a cropped shape, and I did some changes to the pattern. I actually did a little split hem, a kind of high-low hem, just because I prefer that style. So yes, so overall I'm a bit disappointed. I might knit it again and size down by 2 sizes, but it really took a long time, and I think I just need a little bit of time to get over the trauma of the the finished product and the time it took to knit it. But the yarn itself, I used Holst Garn, the Supersoft in the colourway Mariner, and it's a navy blue with flecks of green through it. It looks so much better on camera than it does in real life. And I held it together with some Filcolana Tilia in cobalt blue. And I really love the finished fabric of it. It's lightweight, it's airy, it's soft and fluffy. So yes, I definitely use that combo again, which is good because I do have leftover of the cone. This was a 500 gram cone, and I think all in all this jumper weighs less than 300 grams, so that's pretty good. Quite big, but like it would be really nice if it wasn't so oversized. So, you know, hindsight is 2020. I could frog this and re-knit it into something else, but I don't know if I have the stamina. But we'll see. It's been washed and blocked
don't know if I can actually frog it because the Holst actually blooms after it's been washed, because as you can see it's quite stringy in its current state. So I'm just not sure. By the way, that noise you can hear in the background, that's our dehumidifier. Here in winter, the house gets really damp, so we have to run a dehumidifier just to kind of keep things dry. So if you're wondering what that annoying noise is, that's what it is. So yes, that's really all I have to say about this. Yep, I would size down on needles on the neckline and on the wrist. I would reduce the stitches again further at the wrist than what I already did. And I would definitely use this yarn combo again. So yeah, that is all I have to say about the Classic by Espace Tricot. So other things, I'm just having to check my Ravelry because like I said, it has been ages since we spoke and I need to catch up on what I've actually been working on. I have put away my Amy slipover. I think I mentioned it a couple of days ago in this vlog that I'm thinking about changing the yarn choice for that. So I've just put it in the naughty corner for now. I'll deal with it later, but I may cast on a new one or another neck warmer at some point. And other things I've kind of still put on the back burner are the Wildflowers Path by Melody Hoffman, and I was knitting that in Nutiden. It was in the colorway Pupilin, which is this one here, this greeny turquoisey one. There we go. It kind of is being washed out a bit on camera, but I really do love the color. It is my color. But I'm just not in the mood to knit on it at the moment. I may dig it out in a couple of weeks, we'll see. And what else have I put on the back burner? Nothing else actually. I haven't got anything else on the back burner that I can recall, but I have started a few other projects. So in my little, what's this called? Project bag. I have a big project, a colorwork project, and it is the Nordstrand by Filcolana. I think it is. I was looking for the pattern. It's somewhere here in the chaos. And I started knitting it on some of the yarn that I inherited from my auntie. So this is the yarn. It's a DK 8-ply and a vibrant kind of jewel toned greeny turquoise, and I'm holding it together with some Knitting for Olive petrol green. There we go, those two together, and it is creating a lovely fabric. I've dropped a load of stitches, so bear with me. It's creating a lovely fabric. Here we go. It has like a lot of depth of color, so you can still see the jewel tone in the background, but it's softened by the darker mohair. So I did start knitting this a couple of weeks ago. I am not happy with the neckline. I think I want to do 2x2 ribs, so I'm thinking about frogging what I've done so far. And starting again with 2x2 rib because I really like the feel of it, and I didn't want something as tight to the neck. I want something a little slouchier, softer, yeah, a little less constricting. So I have kind of put this on hold as well, and I did start some of the color work. I don't know if you can see it properly, but it is going to be a contrast There we go, they're the two colours that I'm using. So I'm using a bright coral colour held with another bright mohair. Sorry, I have to keep hiding my face so you can actually see the yarn. It will look lovely when it's all knitted up, but I think I'm going to frog it and start again, because I feel like I rushed through the first part of the yoke. I don't know, the instructions are a little bit haphazard with the increases around the yoke. Like it says increase by a certain number of stitches evenly around the yoke, and when you do the next round of increases, which are actually even, some of the increases are really close together in a row, not in a row, I mean a few rows later, so it kind of looks a little weird. You can see this kind of bobbly texture. That's where those increases have occurred, and it just doesn't look right. So I'm going to try and redo them, do it properly and more mindfully, because I actually started this as a commute project, so I was on the train and on the bus, so I wasn't really paying too much attention, so I may have rushed through it. So I'm going to start afresh, but until I do, it's going back in the bag. And I have, as I can probably tell, I have a load of other projects to work on as well, but I'll deal with that at some point, maybe this weekend, we'll see. And another project I have started, I was cleaning up the other day. I said on my Instagram stories that I was moving my clothes back into our walk-in wardrobe after my in-laws moved out, and I rediscovered some yarn I bought at the Bendigo Sheep Show last year and that I put safely away, and I was actually going to knit the fairy bouquet sweater out of it, but I've since kind of gone off that, and I discovered the Catedral Pullover or Cathedral Sweater by Units, and again I printed it off and put it somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. So this is the yarn. Ta-da! It's a fantastic minty green luxury 4-ply from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and I'm holding it together with this crazy iguana colourway by Melbourne City Dye Works. And it's a fantastic kind of neon minty green with splashes of blue and purple kind of speckles throughout. There we go. Let's hold it up to my face. You'll be able to see it better. Kind of, I'm getting a little washed out. So I'm knitting on knitting with those yarns, and I have so far started the Cathedral Pullover, and I've already veered off pattern. I started knitting the rib as per pattern, but I didn't really like it, and I thought, I know the reason why it's been written that way, designed that way, so that it matches up with the yoke detail, and you apply it at the neck as well, in the neck rib. But I figured the hem, the waist ribbing, is so far away from the yoke that it wouldn't be weird if I just did a 1x1 rib. So that's what I've done, and it's actually turning out to be really awesome. On my camera screen, this looks really washed out to be a really pale mint green. I don't know if you can actually see if it's a neon-y colour. Might just be the light through the window. So far so good. I'm just going to slowly chip away at this, and I'm going to be low-key joining the cowl. I was one of those lucky people who got on to buy the pattern on Ravelry, and I entered the code for the cowl and it gave it to me for free. So I don't know if that was a mistake, but I emptied my basket and the code and I redid it just to see if it was a mistake, but I definitely got it for free. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe I was just very lucky. So thank you very much for the free pattern. So I'm looking forward to knitting that. I really love the detail of the yoke. I know it's meant to look like a cathedral, kind of structural, but to me it actually looks a little bit like shells. So I thought this colour would be a really nice choice for it. I would love a, you know, kind of chic neutral, like a blush pink, but that ain't my thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing and wearing that, and it's nice and lightweight because it's fingering and mohair. I know the pattern calls for, I think, worsted or DK, but this will be really good. It'll be nice and light and breathable, perfect for this mild Australian winter. So yes, I'm looking around and I'm thinking that might be everything I'm working on right now. So I'm not sure if I have a lot more to share, and it's only Wednesday. This was supposed to be a week of vlogging, but I do actually have sewing stuff to show you. So I'm going to put that in my back pocket for now, and I'm going to crack on and get started with work. So have a lovely morning. I'll speak to you later.